To the Hudson Avenue System. Um, in short, what it really is it's personal training that adapts to your unique wants and your unique needs. Um, in short, this is what personal training really should be, really adapting to the individual that's in front of you, whether it's one on one on two, or one on many. But I stay focused on one on one training, one on two, and maybe a bit more here and there. But I really try my hardest, which is set up in the system to adapt to their personal needs and their personal wants, and even their personal environment to help them improve and progress. The name of the game with the Hudson Avenue system is making it this progressive system that people can really improve off of, and also nailing the basics of making it fun and social and so on and so forth. So moving to the next page, um, the system, I've been in the personal training sphere for about 10 years now, and I would say the system really started coming together 3 years ago, and it's taken a long time. It's taken a long time to figure out personal training to this degree. I'll keep learning and keep building upon it, but this has taken a long time to get to. That being said, it's also ever evolving. I do have a system now. I can explain the system, but over time, I will most likely get more and more improvements out of the micro parts of the system. As a macro, as a global system, I think I've nailed some key points, which I'll go through, which is the onboarding, assessment, workout, and then offboarding. I think I have some great things put together there, but it's also far from perfect. It's going to get better and better and better. The more people critique it, ask questions, the more clients do, the more kinds of demographics you see, whether old, young, fit, not fit, and all those different variables there. But what I'm most proud of is I have a system. I can explain to you why I do a certain thing. I can fit the client into the system to give them the best possible means to make progress. I can explain I can explain my system. I can explain my exercise selection. I can explain every single thing I do, whether it's right or wrong right now, and whether it's going to get better or not. I can explain it for the most part. And that brought me back to a quote about the ever evolvingness of the system. I'm very proud that I have a system, but as Mike Boyle said in his seminar I went to in around 2014 or 2015, if you're not laughing at your old programs that you've made, then you're probably not evolving enough as a coach. So right now I have a system. I'm super proud of it, but 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, I'll definitely have a different PowerPoint to showcase individuals. But once again, it's a system that we can learn off of, whether it's me learning, my clients getting better, or other coaches and fitness enthusiasts learning as well. What I know about personal training. So even before the system, there's a couple slides I wanted to go through just to understand personal training at a bit more of a global level. I don't try and be a strength coach. I don't try to be a physiotherapist, performance coach, nutritionist, a psychologist, or any of the above. I'm Matthew Golt. I own a personal training studio, and I personally train individuals. I stay in my lane. My job is to listen to them, provide them with exercise prescription to make them as healthy as possible and not hurt them. That's what I do. I try and give them efficient movement, safe movement, and I try and make it fun and sociable. You strike that balance and you've really owned personal training. You strike the balance of safe and effective movement patterning and making it fun, relatable, and social, then you're way ahead of the game. But that takes years to learn. It took me a long time to learn about those two elements that had to come together: the safety element, the technical element, and the fun and social element. The biggest lesson I've ever learned in personal training is this: listen. This can go across all walks of life. Literally learn how to listen. Now, the bigger the toolbox you have, the better you can then provide them an answer to some of their questions and so on and so forth. But it begins with listening, listening, listening. Who are they? What do they want to accomplish? How can you help them? The more I listen, calm my brain down, and just sit there and really understand who they are and what they want, the much better I end up giving them the session, because the session is so much less than about the exercises that they actually do, and it's about why you're giving it to them, how they relate to the exercise, how they relate to the environment. It's so much more than just the actual movement, although that is what a personal trainer does. But at the top level, at the global level, we're just amazing listeners. We listen and then we give them what they want, and we stay within the rules of keeping it safe. And that brought me back to a quote that really resonated with me when I went to a physiotherapy seminar with two of the legends in the industry in Montreal there, Scott Souther and Andre Ferguson. And I think it was Scott Moore who said that nobody cares how much you know until you show them how much you care. And obviously this was a Theodore Roosevelt quote. Quotes are easy. They're one-line sentences, but when it really clicks, you really understand it. So it took a few more months to keep trying to strip away my ego and talk about how much I know to my clients about how to move this way and why you move that way, and just show them that I actually care about helping them move and feel better by listening. So the system. What is the Hudson Avenue System? It's no different than what you'll see in most sports science systems or other great trainer systems. I'm just able to write it out in a PowerPoint. I think others can. They do it in seminars, they do it in certifications, they do it in other presentations, and they do it within their own gym. Mine came to be because I'm also building this fitness app that needs this system to be put into it. So this fitness app, what I'm trying to build is it adapts to your needs and wants based upon the algorithm that's built within it. And the algorithm is essentially the onboarding, assessment, workout, and offboarding of the Hudson Avenue system. So what does the system entail? It begins with onboarding. I take their generic information or general information, their overall goals, their health history, and that would be step one. Step two is assessment. Where are they right now? How do they move? How do they interact? How do they feel? This is done in twofold. The first time I see them, it's a macro assessment. So it's more in depth. I'll get into that in a second. But each workout, whenever they walk in, it's the same questions. How do you feel today? What do you want to accomplish today? Sometimes they brush me aside, and sometimes I have to ask those questions in different ways to different individuals. But I'm asking those questions, or I'm thinking, or I'm looking at their eyes to see how they slept the night before, or the stress they're under, or how excited they are to be in the gym that day. And that really allows me to change the tempo, intensity of the workout, whether it's harder, easier, or the same. Then we get into like the main thing, which is the actual workout. And the workout's broken down to the warm-up, the main body, conditioning at the end, and cool down. Once again, it seems so simple, but when you start breaking into it down in the mental model, it's gone from like, okay, it seems simple. I made it so complicated for so long, but it's also so simple. And now I'm just going to go to the basics because I'm so confident with administrating the basics. And lastly, offboarding. So how was the session? What did you like about it? Once again, some people will give me feedback, some not so much, but I'll make sure I know that. I give them progress reports. Some like it, some don't care for it, but the ones who like it love it. They see their push-ups went from 3 reps to 5 reps to 7 reps, and I'll show you all the charts I have with that. I built the system, a software myself that kept track of all their metrics during the training session, and then spits out the results right after. Then I'll schedule them in for the next session, keeping it simple, flawless, and efficient. So onboarding, I'll keep this short. General information, overall goals, health history. So general information, name, age, phone number, email, occupation. I used to see all these like different files or notes of other gyms or physios, and I was trying to learn from them to what questions to ask, and they had so much information on them. It's like I actually started thinking it's not a big deal, but it's more about this global thought of like, why are we asking these questions? Like, why are you actually asking these questions? And it was more because other people were asking those questions rather than that actual clinic or studio saying, hey, like these actually matter. So I just scrubbed those aside. And I'm like, okay, let's just ask name, age, phone number, email, occupation. Name, okay. Age gives me an idea even before they walk in, a little bit about them. Phone number or email allows me to contact them, and occupation allows me to understand what kind of demanding job or not demanding job they have in terms of sitting or standing, and also allows me to play around with the progress reports where I can see for fun and anonymously which lawyer, doctor, trainer, physio, consultant is able to do this amount of reps, and this allows me to have a bit more fun with the progress reports. Overall goals. So these questions are short and open-ended, and I may get more pointed as we go along, but at the foundation, what I'm just trying to do is I'm sitting there with them, and I'm trying to get a hypothesis of what they want. And to do that, I ask a few questions like, what do you want to accomplish? Why are you here? What are some of your goals? And I listen. And then I go from this sphere of going, okay, these are some broad questions. And then I'll be like, okay, here are some micro questions. How many chin ups do you want to get? How fast do you want to run your marathon? So maybe I should have actually added it into the PowerPoint as I'm thinking it now, but I go from a macro open-ended questionnaire where it's like, why are you here, to, okay, I'm here because I want to get fit. What does fit mean to you? Okay, I want to do 3 chin-ups. Okay, how do you want to accomplish that 3 chin-ups? Should we do it over the course of a month or 2 months? How hard do you want to push? I really have to get to know the sociological profile of the person, and that really starts with asking some good questions that come from, I guess, social science, and then also just listening. And then the same thing happens with health history. I stay in my scope here. I try and find out any general health issues that I should know about or they want me to know about. And same thing with any lingering tightness, injuries, or anything along those lines. At one point, I thought about using the PARQ, which is a more in-depth health history test, but I figured just staying in my scope as a personal trainer, it's like I need to know anything pertinent to their health history and also their injuries and tightness because I can work a way around that. But I didn't want to scare them too much, and it wasn't needed. I could be wrong about it, but I wanted to just keep it as simple as possible. People are coming in to personally train. Most of them are relatively quite healthy because I'm a personal trainer, not anywhere in the physio scope or athletic therapy scope, and they just want to train. So obviously, you don't just let them train. You ask a few questions and you learn a bit about them. But I just need to know anything pertinent, anything they don't really want to share, that they don't need to share. I don't ask them to share. I thought about the PARQ. I'm like, do I really have to ask all these questions? And I thought not. People can argue against that, and if they do, I'm wide open to hearing. Once again, I'm one personal trainer in one studio, only talking to a few other trainers every couple days. So there's still an immense amount I need to learn. But yeah, I put it to the side for now and just created my own sort of health history template. Um, just throwing the picture, like just look how engaged she is, just listening. When my clients walk in, like it's them 90% talking and me 10% talking. Like I am listening, listening, listening. I can't iterate. I can't explain how much that's important to the personal training sphere or any sphere, to be quite honest. I think this is the last slide, maybe in the onboarding phase, but it has to be simple and easy. So even before they've walked in, actually, they've answered these general information, health history, overall goal questions. I've given them parking directions, pricing, and I've scheduled them in. Now, when they come in, I sit down and double down on the health history and overall goal questions. But before they've even entered the gym, they have everything they need. They don't have to text me anything more. They know what they have to bring, what to wear, how to get there, where to park, how much it costs to park, what time they're coming in, what time they're staying until. And I have all their information so I can contact them if any issues arise. But the biggest lesson I learned from my past gym that I managed was like, you have to make things so simple, so easy, because most people, it's not that they don't want to personal train or train, but you are scheduling them in for 45 minutes to an hour. You have to make their life simple by giving them good, easy, simple training sessions. They have to get there and make it simple because people don't want friction. They want it to be so simple that they don't have to think about it after a long work day or a long day with their kids or early morning where they haven't had their coffee. So that's, that became maybe tier two below listening, where it's like you have to remove the friction for people. Like make it so simple to get there. The training session has to be simple, and then the offboarding and saying goodbye to them has to be simple. It really will make their day, and make their day easier. That's the onboarding sheet I provide my clients. So you can see the name, phone number, email, date of birth, occupation, the question, what are you trying to accomplish here with your health? And then should I know about any health that pertains to personal training, such as injuries or health issues? And yeah, it's generic. Once again, I start really sitting down, listening to them and talking about it. But, and the conversation goes in different directions, but at least this sheet gives me, has the questions I want to ask on it and gives me a template to speak to them with. And they see that I'm actually caring for them. It's not like they're just coming in and just doing anything. They're sitting down and I'm listening to them. I'm caring about them. I have this system that I built that was built to help their needs and not just have them on the phone, have them explain to me and not write anything down. Like, no, this is all saved, all there, all regulated, and all allows me to always come back to help improve them. Um, so yeah, the onboarding to finish off on it is just a hypothesis. So for the general information, for the overall goals, mostly, it's just about what do you want to accomplish right now, and then we always can go back to it and change it and evolve it. And I do, and I do that all the time. It stays on the page of each workout what their goals are, and their goals are always evolving, always changing, and that really changes the direction of the workout based upon their needs and their wants. So the assessment, I'm still working on, still evolving it. I don't think it's the perfect assessment yet. Like I said before, I don't think I'll ever get there, but I do want to improve it still. But I wanted to show you the trajectory of the improvement because I'm at least trying to ask the right questions, I think. So what it was I had experimented with just my intuition and personal experience and the onboarding information I got, where I was just giving them push-ups and lunges and squats and sort of finding out where they were, and it worked. I experimented with the FMS at one point also. I found that it was just a little bit too technical for them, and in personal training, you still have to somewhat sell. So the first session, they're really going to take a liking to you or not. And as much as it was technical and it showed they cared, they're like, I just really don't want to do this right now. Or, Matt, I really don't think you have to go this far with me to really get an understanding of where I am. And that's why I wanted to keep it simple with the push-ups and lunges and squats. Less was always more. The first session, it was really key about like if you can nail where they are in the first session, it's like whoa, you're really really talented as a coach, and that's what I was always trying to get to. Where they would walk in, the onboarding was done really simply, the assessment was done within the first set of the workout, and then by set 3 or 4, it's like we're actually nailing about 10% away from the level they're at. So they've left feeling like whoa, this was a great workout, better than I've had before, and he got all the information I need, meaning that it's only going to get better by workout 2, not workout by 7. I'm not asking them to give me 5 sessions of patience. I'm saying, hey, I'll nail this the first set, like the first session, maybe the first half session and a half, but I'll nail this pretty quickly. So that evolved to taking out that sort of assessment and taking out the FMS, and I did want to find a baseline to show them that they were improving. And that started with the resting heart rate, sit and reach test, hand grip test, and body fat percentage test. So I brought together these 4 tests that were simple, fun, and replicatable, and anything within that scope. That gave me this quasi overall health score for the client. So let's say they got in the 70th percentile for resting heart rate, 60th for sit and reach, 75th for hand grip test, and 65th percentile for body fat percentage. I would average those out, and it would give me their 67.5% overall health score. It was a baseline. It was fun. It was novel. Everyone liked it. It was simple. It's sort of easier to find some validity with a hand grip test or consistency with a hand grip test than it is for a push-up, because hand grip test, you're just squeezing it. Push-up, you have 10 different clients that walk in. You need 10 different sort of push-up forms, because some people need elevated, some need modified, some can't do a real push-up, and that makes them feel bad about themselves. So I was just trying to ask questions and have fun, and I do use it here and there still. Once again, it gives me this baseline of where they're at. And it was fun, and it was somewhat effective. So that was the overall health score. And after that, I would sort of know where they're at with push-ups, lunges, and squats, and I would go through that again. So it would start with onboarding, then it would go to this overall health score that took 5 minutes to execute. It was fun for them. Then I would test their push-ups, lunges, and squats, and then we would go on about our business. And 2 months later, I'd go back to the overall health score test, and we'd see if they improved. And they loved it. They loved it. How perfect is it? I don't know. I think there's many ways to improve it. Especially like how much do we really care about flexibility now? Body fat. How consistent is it? How much does it pertain to their necessarily overall health if the scale is not 100% accurate, because I wasn't using calipers. But it bred better questions. I was really just trying to look at personal training from a different scope every time, saying how can I improve my system? How can I improve it? How can I improve it? And maybe I get some things wrong over time, but for the most part, I was trying to ask good questions to help improve their overall health. That's what the overall health score looked like. So you had date, weight, body fat, percentile, sit and reach percentile. And you saw my scores here: 60% overall health score, strength, flexibility, heart, body. Some of the problems were like if you look at sit and reach, which if I can scroll here is right there. You can see I got 17.3 one day, and I got 12.1 a month and a bit later. The day before that 12.1, I worked out really, really hard. So that made my lower back not even tight, but saying, hey, you need to take a day off today because your hips are tired and hips are sore. So my score went terribly down. And that really shows some of the flaws in the system. But you can also track your body fat percentage going down, going up. My grip test went up over here. Even after a workout day, it meant that I was getting stronger after a shoulder injury. And that was fun. It was fun. My resting heart rate went up a little bit. Maybe I was more stressed that day or that week. So it's just more data. It doesn't mean it was the right data, but I was at least collecting the data to see if the data made sense or did not make sense, and it was fun. But there's definitely holes in it and definitely ways to progress. But I still do use it for my clients who ask for it and some in the future who would fit right into the system. So what it'll be a if you want the overall health score, you'll get it. I'll definitely keep speaking to more great sports scientists who will help me further understand it. So we could take the science world and bring it more to personal training to find something that is actually scientifically effective or proven, but also simple and fun for the personal training clients. And then I moved to the assessment, which is hip, knee, push, pull, core. So push ups, rows, deadlift, lunges, plank. And I find out if they're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced there. No, it's not perfect. But it needs to be the delicate balance between fun, simple, and yet informative, which is obviously so tough always to marry the physiological science to the social sciences. But that's what I keep trying to hit the nail on. How could I take this scientific world that I love and I've learned from, and how could I bring it to personal training so that my clients who are the general public just have fun and have sociability and all that? And that's really like the one of the main questions of personal training. Give them what they need, the physiological and the physiological science, but also nailing the social sciences of what they really just want to accomplish. Here you can see the beginner, intermediate, advanced of the assessment. So you can see push-ups or pushing motion would be a bodyweight push-up for intermediate, and a modified push-up for beginner, and then plyometric push-up for advanced. And then double down on that, then I give them a pulling exercise. And you saw if they got 10 reps of 45-degree TRX inverted row, they're around a beginner to maybe an intermediate. If they get 6 reps of bent leg TRX row, they're somewhere over here. If they get 15 reps of straight leg TRX inverted row, okay, I'll keep pushing this to elevated straight leg TRX row or weighted elevated straight leg TRX row, and so on and so forth. So eventually this beginner, intermediate, advanced will have like 10 levels to it, which it sort of does, but I can't show that to you yet because it's not really well done. But it really helps me nail exactly where the person is that first session and allows me to just program for them for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks accordingly to see them continue to progress. So the workout, you break it down to 4 parts: the warm up, main body, conditioning, and the cool down. So warm up is even before they hop in the warm up, and you can even add this to a precursor. It's how do you feel today? How do you sleep? How is everything? And they don't have to necessarily express that to you, but you have to sort of see it in their eyes and their jump in their step. And you'll see it more and more as you take on 10, 20, 30 sessions with that same client over the course of a couple months or a year. You get to learn them, but you really want to nail down how they feel that day. And the more confident you become in the coach, the more confident you are in terms of pushing them far or actually pulling them back those days. The foundation of the warm-up came from RAMP, which is like the scientific principle of raising your heart rate, activating yourself, mobilizing yourself, potentiating. However, I don't find I need that as much of my general population clients. If I have a 60-year-old male or female client come in who doesn't have so much movement history and is just doing it to take away some back pain and keep their bones strong, I'm not going to overthink it. So the way I went about it is I'll use the RAMP principles just to give them one core exercise, one lower, one upper, or one spine, hip, shoulder. Not overthink it at all, but we're looking at the cat-cow, we're looking at squats or assisted squats, and we're looking at I guess maybe a little bit of boxing to warm up, or just pushing a wall, or a couple elevated push-ups. Like super, 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 super simple stuff, depending on the person, fitting their level, and just making the warm-up, get them sweaty and activated and present, but not like overdoing it so we're stretching out every single muscle in the body and being like, hey, we're going to get you ready for game day. It's not like that. It's like they're there to, for 45 minutes to an hour. Here's a simple warm-up. You can hop on the foam roller if you want. You can talk with me. We can chat. I can distract you. I'll put you on the assault bike a little bit. I can get your hips and shoulders warmed up. But somewhere in the sphere of, okay, a little bit of ramp and a little bit of like, okay, let's make sure we get the whole body warmed up. Whether it's for just like the knowledge of how the body works and to warm up the whole thing, or just to get the whole body sweating and activated. So for example, once again, fitting into the beginner, intermediate, advanced classes or core, upper, lower, intermediate would look like, okay, hop into a body plank, move your hips, move your shoulders. You don't have to keep it so there. You can then move to your upper, which would be like an inchworm or a modified push-up or some boxing or anything that just stimulates your shoulders in a simple, easy manner. And the same thing with bodyweight squats or bodyweight lunges or lateral lunges. I mean, I don't marry myself to this list, but the great thing with this list or this system is it gives me a template to work off of. I can't explain 100% of it. Probably some things still work in my head, but for the most part, I do try and write it down so I can either show it to myself, to other coaches, or within this PowerPoint. And you look at advanced, where a bodyweight plank on palms with an up dog or down dog, working your way into a push-up, crawling up into a squat that brings you to a jump squat or a jump lunge or a lateral bound. From there, we work our way into the main body. Now, the main body is the main portion of the workout where I spend most of the time. It's based off of your knee, your hip, your pushing, and your pulling. And I do it in a circuit style, and I usually add some accessories, core, and conditioning. Now, everyone's a little bit different, but the core of it doesn't change. It's a full body workout unless you're coming many times a week. But if you're coming just once or twice a week, it's a full body workout. And we're trying to nail all the different joints in the body for the most part. We won't obsess about some of the smaller ones, but we will obsess about the spine, shoulder, hip, which allows us to do the hip, knee, push, pull. And then people just love accessories. They love core, and they love reasonable conditioning because it gets them sweaty and gets them moving, and it's really, really fun. And that's how I go about the main body. Now, the interesting thing here is, which I haven't added into the PowerPoint, I didn't know how much I wanted to get into it, but every single thing is tracked. So when they do their main body exercise, if they get push-ups, 8 reps, 7 reps, 6 reps at 4 height on the Smith machine, which I used to use a squat rack, then all that's noted. Same thing for jump squats. They do 10 reps of jump squats with no weight the first time, 5 pounds the second time, and then they do it with a dumbbell each hand versus a goblet jump squat the third time. All that is noted so that I always have the data to progress in the next time. Will I continue doing that forever? I'm not sure because it's a lot of work, but I definitely always will compile some data, whether it's one-on-one or a one-on-two or one-on-many training, because without feedback, you lose yourself. Without the numbers that they got that session, as time-consuming and hard it is, and it takes you away from also watching your client here and there, you have to strike that balance between compiling the data and then watching your client train, because if not, you lack the reasonable feedback to progress them properly, especially if they're more and more an advanced client who's always wanting to keep progressing and keep moving and keep seeing you push your boundaries as a coach. So yeah, you'll see one of my clients here. These are some old programs, 0202, 1211, 03, 09. So yeah, what do we got here? We got hip, we got push, we got knee, we got pull. There you go. And we got conditioning. This wasn't actually done in a circuit, but I have done where this all would say main body 1, and I put all these things into one circuit. Here we went main body, traditional agonist, antagonist, and same thing with goblet squats and rows, and then conditioning to end off to find the right amount to push them. And yeah, weight chin-ups, dips, agonist, antagonist. We got flexion, extension of the bicep or the elbow joint over here. And here was like a big main body one. So you got one way with hip and knee flexion, the other way with hip and knee flexion, and you got abduction, adduction for your flies and reverse flies, and you got core and core. And I could also probably have added like a conditioning at the end to keep them going. And then if you look over here, Inchworms were maybe core and upper, banded was hips, and then I thought, okay, bike would be a nice little like just ramp part of it. So once again, I have a system. It's not perfect. I work around some stuff, but I got them warmed up with simple stuff that fit their level. As per conditioning, in my gym, I have the assault bike, a sled, a ski erg. I don't have a rower, but rowers are great. Treadmills obviously are great. Anything just to get them like they're having fun, mimicking a sport, almost mimicking baseball, basketball, hockey, like where you're just having fun and you're in a safe position because you're warmed up and your coach really knows your level. But people love the conditioning at the end. I'll tell you the big thing about conditioning. People love it at the end because it's almost like they've reached their end limit of their energy in a video game or in some sort of like a world like that. But you also be careful that you don't push them over top that energy level. So that's what is the Goldilocks zone, or which one of my clients, when I was telling them about it, called it the Gold T lock zone, as on my last name is Gold. So as Brad Stulberg and Steve Magnus said in Peak Performance, you've got to find the Goldilocks weight, an amount you can barely manage that will leave you exhausted and fatigued, but not injured by the time you finish your workout. So yeah, I do that in the warm up, maybe a little bit. The main body, especially on set 3 or set 4, and especially I focus on this in the conditioning because people love it. People just love to push their limits, which are their limits, their personal limits, but not anymore because that leaves a bad taste in their mouth, but not any less because then they feel guilty that they maybe had more in the tank. And that probably comes from years of experience. So for coaches who may not have that experience, it's less is more at the beginning. I'd rather go a little bit easier on them than have them throw up or have dizziness or nausea the first few sessions. We do see it too often. Coaches bring their clients to those nausea, vomiting limits. It happens here and there, especially the more advanced your client is or the more beginner and they want to go advanced they are. But I mean, the scientific literature points that it's unsafe and unpractical, and it's something I try and stay away from as much as possible. I've made mistakes over the past 2.5 years with that. I've had 1 or 2 clients succumb to some nausea and maybe even throw up once, but I'm not perfect. But I do beat myself up after those sessions. The cool down. I really don't overthink about the cool down except for down regulating them. So down regulating is just getting them into a parasympathetic nervous system. All this came from the first time I really understood this was Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers by Robert Sapolsky. And it was about they went into their fight response. They were trying so hard during the session. They were pushing. They probably came from work. Or now they're going to work. So turn off their system. Get them back breathing normally. Get them feeling good. That's why I believe in some of the research that does stretching also works so good. Not just because you're lengthening the muscle, but because it's teaching you to actually sit down for 30 seconds or 60 seconds or 2 minutes and just breathe. So, I mean, I wrote a bunch of stuff on this page, like 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points, but I can sum it up by saying, just let them chill. A couple stretches I don't ever think about. I know, 50 stretches, whatever, and I'll give them a couple of them. But I'll just tell them, chill out. Chill out. Don't rush out of here. Breathe. Get your bearings, and then go about the next part of your day. Offboarding. So maybe the inverse of onboarding. Here it's how was the session? How do you feel? What can we do better next time? Once again, some people will give you feedback, some not. You gotta read yourself as a coach, give yourself feedback as a coach, and try and understand how they felt. If they're on the ground, lying down, like out of breath, but they're not nauseous, wow, you crushed it. And they say great workout, double down that workout next time. I have fun with my progress reports to show them that they're improving. I don't think they're necessarily these progress reports, but what they do is sometimes people get down themselves and they're not making progress, but you always can go back to the data, the metrics. And it makes you feel proud as a coach, makes you bond with them, makes you chat, you send them their progress each month. It's nothing I obsess about anymore, but it's there for the taking. You have the numbers to show them that they're progressing, and it's fun for them. People like seeing that they're progressing. Lastly, from that workout, which had some weights and bands and this and that, I give them homework that can suit to their gym at home. So I adapt to their environment. It's very expensive to afford personal training more than once a week or anything within that realm, let's call it. So I want them doing it at home or at the gym. So I will tap back into my Google Sheets, my software, and I will plan them a program that they can follow off of with videos, reps, sets, and weights. And we just discussed it at the end of the workout. Just once again, just being there for them, showing them my care and helping them progress. This is like the progress report, so you can see this is just fake numbers. This is the push-up improvement, the dates, the starting point, the ending point, the average. This is something I can do a whole nother PowerPoint on because I have this whole back end system that my clients don't see or care so much about. But yeah, I share the homework with them, or I share the progress reports with them. But as a coach, and once again, this would be another video PowerPoint. It's like these numbers really help me program better and better and better, because I know to the T how many reps they need the next session, how many sets, what they want, how they're progressing, what to progress them to. It's like I have all the data there. I have all the data there. They don't care so much about it, but coaches love it. Bonus data. So I mean, I should have expanded this, but you can see the dumbbell bent over rows, the sets, the reps, the weight. These weights you actually have to cut in half, because this is wrong, but it'd be 40, so 20 pounds per hand. This would be 32 and a half, gives you this amount of volume. So you can see where I'm going with all this stuff. It's still too complicated, because you're dealing with now, I have 25,000 or 30,000 data points and 5,000 lines of data. I'm trying to learn more and more from it, what matters, what doesn't, and make it as simple as possible in the software. Not easy, but the more I narrow it down and understand what I want as a coach and what my clients want as a client, the better I get. But I still have it, and it's still fun to show, and I still do have great conversations with other coaches and other clients with it. The main thing is I have to keep simplifying it, so it's very, very easy, and this slide makes it a bit more easy. And also know that the client doesn't care so much about it, but here and there show them their progress, because they like shoutouts, they like fun. It's something they share on social media afterwards. Hey, look, I improved from this amount of sets and reps and weight on the dumbbell press to, well, this is clearly wrong, to this amount of sets, reps, and weight. So 58 to 73 here. These numbers over here are probably not doubled down. And then here's your homework. So this is how one of my clients started off with. When I updated the program, some of the videos went away, but that's what the blue writing is. So this was 506.19, bodyweight squats, forward lunges, lateral lunges, push planks, and here is 319.20. Look how her homework has improved. So from 4 exercises, that was literally the homework when she first walked in, to mini band and stationary lunges with bicep curls and single leg squats. And she earned the right to do all these fun exercises. And she bought all the equipment for her house also. Not much. Bands, a mat, 8-pound dumbbells, 17.5-pound dumbbells, 5-pound dumbbells. You know, you're talking about $100, $200 in-home gym. And then I close off, like I said before, how do they feel? They like it, they didn't like it, too easy, too hard? Give me some feedback. So yeah, in conclusion, I wanted to keep this under an hour. I don't know how long it went, but I think I did somewhat of a good job there. They walk in, I listen. I find their baseline, where they're at. I have the program ready, I train them. I track their progress. We finish up the workout, we discuss. I go back to the program, fill it in, adapt it, and then they come in the next session and we restart. What I'm most proud of is my system is not perfect, but I have a system. I have a model that I follow, and that allows me to always come back to many forms of simplicity to help my clients progress. The name of the game is helping them move better and feel better. And I think after a few sessions, most coaches can do that. But over the long haul, you really need a system that listens to them and allows them to explore different elements of fitness, but always be basic, simple, easy, and malleable. And that's what the system does. It listens to their needs and wants, adapts accordingly, and progresses them over time. Thank you very much for your time, guys. What did I say here? Maybe, this is gonna go up on YouTube. Subscribe, follow me. I love teaching. I love coaching. I'm building this fitness app. It sounds gimmicky when I say app, but trust me, this is going to be big, I think, because it'll adapt to the client's needs and wants at a cheap price. And that's it, guys. Cheers. And let me see if I can end this properly. Bye.